Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 99. We're
Wow.
getting up there. We got one more before triple digits. But if you're here right now, you're an early bird or you're catching the recording. So thank you for watching. We want to do what we do every week, which is first we start off with the topic that we've chosen that we think is going to help you guys be better when you jump into your games or just in your development as a player. And while we're doing that topic, you guys are going to send us your comments and questions. And after we're done with our topic, we'll jump into answering those for you. So if you want to send them to us, best place is to send them to us on Twitter. We are at Shot Science. You can also send this to us on Facebook, Google+, in the YouTube chat of this video, or anywhere you can find Shot Science. We will try to track you down. Best place, though, is Twitter. And so while we are getting to this topic, send us your questions. Also, if you could tell your friends and family to join us, that would be awesome because that helps us grow and do more cool things for you guys. So go tell your friends and family. Our topic for today is 2 ways to increase your shooting range. And so we are going to try to give you guys a little bit of insight into kind of the more common, easy to do things that will help you be able to shoot from further back, shoot deeper shots. But you have to keep in mind that you have to work on this stuff. It's not like it will be an instantaneous thing.
Right.
These are things that take time to develop, but these are answers to common problems that we see when it comes to not being able to shoot from further back. Right? So what is one that jumps to mind?
Well, one of the first things that come to my mind is that when you're having difficulty in shooting your longer range shots is the fact that you probably are not really able to get your legs into the stroke. One of the things that happens is that often people will take, excuse me, they'll take an offer a question like this. I can shoot pretty good up to maybe 15 or 16 feet, but once I move out beyond the 3 line, then I can become very ineffective. And one of the reasons is that a lot of young players haven't really discovered how to use their legs properly. And one of the things that happens is that that's where all of our strength is. You stop and look at all the large muscles of the lower body. You know, excuse me, we start with our core muscle group and then the gluteus muscles of our rear end, our quads, our hamstrings, and finally our calves. Those are large muscles and they're the largest ones in our body. And so that's where all our power generates from.
Well, and look at some of the other sports too. Like if you look at baseball or you look at football, all of them are using hugely like the lower chain of their body.
Right.
You know, a lot of it is like the hip thrust and pushing off with one of your feet. You know, in baseball, if you're a pitcher, you're using a lot of your lower body to gain momentum.
And swinging the bat is really an awful lot about how you use your legs.
Yeah. And so, you know, a lot of people are thinking, oh, well, you just need to go in the gym and work on triceps or that's ridiculous.
No.
Number one, that's going to give you a whole bunch of imbalances if you're only working on one single thing. And number two, your arms and upper body will never compare to your lower body in terms of strength and power that you can generate.
Well, you know, we take a look at it and kind of the consensus is that probably 75 to 80% of the power that you have in your body, if you're a normal human being, is somewhere around, that's your lower body, 75% or so, sometimes 80. And so that doesn't leave very much from the upper shoulder girdle as far as delivering power for shooting shots. And so one of the things that happens too is that when we find ourselves underpowered, we start racking our shoulders to gain more power on the stroke.
And your mechanics break down.
And the mechanics break down, and
your accuracy
the accuracy just falls off the table. And so what we really do is we encourage our students, particularly beginning students, new students, they're basketball players, but maybe they're new students, and teaching them how to make the connection between the lower leg muscles from, you know, all the lower body muscles and their stroke. And once they kind of figure that out, then they understand what they need to do. One of the things too is that we constantly talk to students about something that I don't think is very much discussed as far as their shooting, and that is you can always feel when your shot's underpowered. As soon as you let go of the ball, you know, maybe earlier than that, you know that there's not enough power there to get it to the basket. Probably you know that before that because then you kind of rack your shoulders. But when we talk to young players about the fact that that is the telltale. If you are having difficulty, if it feels underpowered, it means that you're not connecting the legs to the stroke itself. And so that's really important for us to increase our shooting range. And, you know, you can probably, as a normal young guy, girl, whatever, shoot up to 16, 17 feet without it being too much of a difficulty, just kind of focusing more on your arm. As soon as you begin to move back from that, of course, that's when you start to have difficulty.
Yeah, and here's a couple of quick things on that too. And that is, number one, is that your upper body should be the finesse aspect of your shooting mechanics and shooting release, because that's how you're really kind of going to get the accuracy and the repeatability.
Well, that's the guidance system. That's really what guides the ball where you want it to go.
Yeah, and okay, if you want to use that analogy like that, we could talk about it in terms of it being like a missile or something like that, where the guidance of it is really kind of the upper body, and kind of the thrust and power of it is your lower body.
Yep.
And you know, so if you're going to be trying to harness more power, you're going to have to do that from your lower body. Otherwise, you're doing it at the expense of your finesse and accuracy.
Right.
And the other thing is too, is that a lot of times people say things like, well, you know, that's if you're going to be going down deeper into using your legs, it's going to take more time. But the fact of the matter is that after you do it a bunch of times, you start innervating your muscles, and you'll actually start to not have to go as deep or flex your muscles as deep. Or bend your knees as deeply as you would. You know, if you watch some of the video, like we have video up of my brother Chase when he was playing in college, and you know, he was known for shooting really ridiculously deep threes. And if you watch those videos, he's barely using his legs at all. It looks like, you know, just visually, it looks like he's barely using his legs. In reality, he is really harnessing as much power out of his legs as he possibly can. It's just he's put in the repetitions to innervate the muscles and generate the power more efficiently. And, you know, we've had a few people respond with, you know, bending your knees more and getting your legs more into the shot by saying, well, that's just going to slow me down and do all these. That's not true. You know, initially when you're starting to work on any kind of skill or developing any kind of skill, it's going to take, you know, some muscle innervation and a ton of repetitions just to get things to feel so that they aren't all wonky and, you know, they feel natural. And so you have to really put in the work. You know, and so same thing is true when it comes to generating more power out of your legs. You have to put in the work. Eventually, over time, it'll be less and less of an effort. And you watch guys in the NBA, some of those guys are shooting 30-foot shots, and it looks like they're barely using their legs. They are definitely using their legs. They have a ton of power that they are harnessing.
Right. One of the things that we teach our students too is that there is a huge difference between adding just 2 or 3 inches to your breakdown or the squat of your legs. I mean, 2 or 3 inches is huge as far as additional power. So it's not like you have to go really deep into a full squat to get enough power to really help you out. Just dipping 2 or 3 inches makes a tremendous difference in power.
Well, not dipping, just bending your knees and getting your butt down.
But the point is that you're bending those legs, dipping the knees or legs, but just getting only about 3 inches here of extra bending of the legs makes a tremendous difference in power.
Yeah, so it's mostly like a flex of the knees down.
Yep.
Okay, so that's kind of number one area, is try to harness more of your lower body than trying to use more of your upper body, because your upper body is really going to be all the finesse and accuracy. Okay, so the second thing that we would say that will really help increase your shooting range is to work more on having efficient shooting mechanics. You know, so often we see people at all levels. Doesn't matter if it's you know, youth league, church league, NBA, NCAA, whatever. We see people that when they shoot, they have a ton of inefficient parts of their shooting mechanics, or they have all these variables that get thrown into their mechanics that don't need to be there. And when you have these variables, it adds complexity, it adds points where you lose power. And when that happens, you start to lose your repeatability. And when your repeatability falls off, then you lose your accuracy. And when you lose your accuracy, then obviously you start losing points. And so what you need to really work on is paring down all of your mechanics so that it's all one fluid motion. There's no extra junk that you throw in there because, you know, it's something that is habitual, or, was a remnant of how you learned how to shoot, or is something that somebody else is telling you to put in there just to make it, the magic pill that will make you a better shooter. You need to think about the reason that you're shooting using these specific mechanics and pare everything down. And the biggest way to do that is to remove any hitch points or sticking points or stopping points of your shot. So, a lot of times we see guys or girls that they come up and they have a thing where they put the ball here and then they extend up again, or they jump in the air and they extend their legs, and then after that there's a sticking point, and then they follow through with their shooting finish.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
making it late.
Yeah, and so there's a stopping point right there in the middle. And what happens when you have that stopping point is you've used up all the power, and then you're trying to have another section of power, and you haven't really you're not going to have the carryover.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is make it an efficient shot that all the power is expended all the way up through the entire motion of your shooting until you get to your follow-through finish release.
And that's demonstrated in those videos that you see of my son Chase shooting in college, is that he's just very efficient, and he gets rid of the ball. He got rid of the ball really quickly and efficiently. And I don't remember ever having seen him being blocked. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, because I didn't see him play every game. But, I saw him play a ton, and I never really saw him ever block, because he was efficient and very effective.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can watch pretty much all of our shooting videos. We have demonstrations of how to really kind of have that efficient shot. Right. Watch our super slow motion video. You can watch me and you can watch Rachel shoot. And both of us, we have no stopping, sticking points. Everything is straight up off the floor to the finish, feet to finish. And, we're not dropping the ball down. We're not, doing any strange motions in the air, or turning any directions, or leaning back, or anything. Everything is one fluid motion straight up off the floor.
Yep.
And what happens when you do that is you eliminate all these variables, and the variables are the things that will really kill your shot. Yeah. Your accuracy will just fall off. And the reason why is because you're adding in these complexities, things that can go wrong into your shot. And the more that you add in, the more those things will happen and occur, and the faster your repeatability will drop off. And, like I said earlier, repeatability drops off, then your accuracy, and then you don't make any baskets.
Yeah. I had a student this morning who was relatively new to us. He's probably 15 years old and just trying to get it going. And one of the things that he's having trouble with, and it's a sticking point for him, is that he brings the ball up and gets it into that L position, which we like to teach everybody to have. But when he's ready to shoot, then he resets it again, and it comes back into here. That really affects his accuracy. I mean, he just couldn't hit anything. And as he began to get more and more effective, he became more effective as he got that ball out. And so we get into this L position. When the ball comes, or the elbow comes back into the V position, typically your shot is going to be a lot flatter than it will be when you get into L. You get into L and elevate the arm and shoulder, then you're going to get that nice arc. And he was kind of getting it, but he'll struggle with that for probably a couple of weeks. But once he gets that, the shot is going to be much more effective for him.
Yeah, and if you go watch people, some of the people that we like the most to watch are like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kyle Korver. Those are the guys. You watch them. There is no sticking points on those guys. They are not doing things that are going to add in variables. They're seriously coming from floor to finish. Everything is efficient. There's no point where they are fully extended and power is lost, and then they need more power. I mean, they are really just, super efficient all the way through. Yeah. And the key for having a shot that your range is moving deeper and deeper and deeper is to make sure that you have that efficiency. Because if you have an inefficiency where you have a sticking point or a stopping point, then you lose power. And when you lose power, then obviously you can't shoot from deeper. So the keys for us, and these are simple keys, obviously there's more, but the simple keys for us in being able to shoot from deeper range or extending your range are working on getting your legs into it. And like I said, that's something that the more you work on it, the less you have to really flex and think about it or anything. And then the second one is to work on your efficiency. Eliminate all the sticking points or stopping points and all the variables, and just make your shot really fluid. Right?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. So, I mean, if you guys have more questions about that stuff, let us know. But, those are really the keys. And, the other thing too is to use the form shooting drill to help you work on developing a deeper range.
Right.
And the way that you do that is that you start in close, you nail every shot from 2 feet away with perfect shooting mechanics. And, you make sure that you've got that down. You've mastered 2 feet, then take a step back, then do it from 4 feet and master that. And just keep mastering as you progressively step back. And, it'll take a little while to go from 2 feet to 20. But the thing that happens is that instead of you going from 2 feet, skipping all the stuff in the middle and going to 20 and having your mechanics completely break down because you got to, wing it up there and turn your body and try to figure out how to get your mechanics to work from that far back, is that you've put in the work to establish your mechanics and also work on generating your power and stuff like that. So your mechanics don't break down as you go back. So that's really the best way to work on that stuff. Right.
Yep.
And then throw in some game speed and then eventually put it into your actual game.
Well, one of the things that comes out of all of that work too, is there is a tremendous amount of confidence that is instilled in you as a player, as a shooter. This last weekend, the last 2 weekends, in fact, I've looked at so many or watched so many basketball games that have my students playing in them. And one of the things that I've noticed about 5 or 6 of them is they have tremendous confidence when they shoot the basketball and the ball is dropping for them. And so confidence is generated by developing a higher level of expertise in execution of your shot, your dribble, whatever it happens to be. And, people often say, well, I'm not very confident when I play. Well, you're not very confident probably because you haven't put the time in to develop all those skills. And with that development of those skills comes a certain confidence that you feel like, okay, I can do this. And there was one young man that he's a junior and hadn't seen him play since last year. He came to play at our school. I just was delighted with how well he stroked the ball. I mean, it was beautiful. The wrist relaxation was perfect. He had about 4 threes and out of 6. So that was exciting for me.
Yeah.
Even though he was beating the heck out of us.
Okay. So if you guys have more questions about how to increase your range, just let us know. Also check out our videos. Make 3-pointers, get your legs into it. And then the form shooting drill. And I think there might be a few more. Check out our shooting videos. That'll help you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to jump into our Q&A portion of the show. If you guys have questions you want us to answer, send them to us on Twitter. We are at Shot Science, or you can send them to us here on Google Plus in the Q&A app, or you can send them to us in the feed from YouTube on this video, or Facebook or wherever. We are Shot Science. So just find us, make sure you're subscribed. Go tell your friends and family to join us because that helps us grow the show and do more cool things for you guys. Okay, so let's jump in and start with some of these questions. We're going to go the first one, which is the Derek Person 123 in the chat, who says, how do I play well in games consistently?
Well, that whole thing that we were talking about just a few minutes ago is the supreme element, and that is confidence. And as soon as you begin to play with confidence, which is the result of an awful lot of practice on your side, as for you, when you develop all that confidence, it comes from spending time and developing those skills. So that's really what I think is important for you to do for you to play consistently. Now, there's certainly going to be situations where you're going to have a game where you break down and just everything falls apart for you. And that happens. And the thing that's really important there is to not allow that to be overwhelming, but instead understand that that is something that comes and goes in most guys as their players. You're going to have great games, you're going to have average games, and you're going to have a few of them that are going to be really kind of stinky. But the thing that's really important is that you maintain your confidence, you keep working on your skills day in, day out, and you'll find that you become much more consistent in what you get done every time you play.
You have to practice consistently to play consistently.
Yeah, exactly.
So check out our 3 pillars of practice, and you're going to be off to a good start. Okay, here's one from Nathan Thompson, who is at NateT_AF, who's here all the time. He says, I'm finding a lot of times when I'm working out, I end up shooting around. I'm working at game speed. I'm flipping the ball and shooting off the dribble and going full speed, but I don't know if I could improve faster with actual reps. Should I do this more or more drill-based work? You need to have a balance of the 3 pillars of practice. I don't think it's good to just do game speed,
Right.
game intensity stuff. You need to be doing stuff like the form shooting drill at least every once in a while, if not variations of it almost all the time.
Yeah, I would think, once you kind of have your stroke, your shooting stroke, and you're feeling pretty confident about it, I think probably 2 or 3 times a week, just hitting this form shooting drill, just to kind of help you kind of gather and make sure that everything is functioning properly. Then after that, you want to move on to second pillar.
Which is game speed, game intensity, and that sounds like kind of the stuff you're doing. If you're trying to speed up your shot, a lot of times it is footwork. And if you get the footwork down, you're going to find yourself being a lot quicker at getting the shot off. And then the second aspect of it is what we were talking about earlier, which is efficiency. If you have the footwork and the efficiency, and there's no sticking and stopping points or extraneous stuff that you've thrown into your mechanics, it's going to be hard to have a slow shot.
Yeah.
You should only rush your feet, not your finish. If you're rushing all the stuff of your shot that's super important, like in terms of making sure you're accurate, which is like your finish and your follow through and stuff like that, then your accuracy is going to tail way off. If you can rush things like the footwork and the kind of the preparation for the shot, then you're going to be okay.
One of the things that a lot of young players have difficulty with is understanding what is a good shot. And oftentimes they will shoot contested shots, and they either get blocked, they get tipped, or they're under such pressure that there's not a very clean delivery of the basketball. And so one of the things that's really important is kind of learn about, is this a good shot or not? And we have a video on that probably would help most of you, and just kind of understanding, am I open here, and what does that mean? We don't want anybody right in our grill and then trying to force a shot up over them, because that's probably not going to be very successful. Once in a while, you're going to hit one of those. That happens. But what you want to do is to recognize, am I open? Is there somebody else with a better shot? Should I put it on the floor and go by him? You have to make that decision in a real short period of time. And some people don't spend any time really thinking or working on that either. And so they're not very effective when they're pressured.
Yeah. So check out What Makes a Good Shot, or I think that's what we called it.
Yeah.
But that's a good video to check out. Also, what was I going to say? I can't remember. Well, yeah, okay. So a lot of people talk about having this quick release and all that stuff. And Steph Curry has a quick release. The fact of the matter is that nothing really you can't really speed up or quicken your follow through and your finish and stuff. If you do that, you're going to find that you're going to have problems with your shot, just because it's going to have a lot of tension. You're going to have a lot of backspin. I mean, it's going to kind of just cause other problems. The reason why Steph Curry has this, quick release is because he's so efficient with everything else. The footwork and all the extension and all that stuff is so much quicker than other people, and there's not all this other junk wound up in there. That's why he's able to get it off so fast, and he's getting it off before he reaches the actual peak of his jump and all that stuff. That is why it is so quick. It's not because he's somehow making his release quicker. I mean, that's just not the case. Okay, so let's get back to some of these. This one's from Brandon Vicare, who's at the Vicar on Twitter. He says, I can shoot from anywhere inside the 3, but as soon as I move out of that, I lose accuracy, but make at least 80% of my shots. Also, how can I train my weaker hand when it comes to dribbling and shooting? Thanks a lot and appreciate it. Okay, quick answers for this stuff, because we kind of covered some of it.
Okay, if you're shooting 80% from outside, I mean, you can't shoot much better than that.
I would say, like, our advice for doing the form shooting drill, that's really where you need to go.
Exactly.
So progressively move yourself back, and your mechanics will be there.
Yep.
And get your legs into it.
And
the other part was, how can I train my weaker hand when it comes to dribbling and shooting? Okay, when it comes to shooting with your weaker hand, don't do it unless you're inside of 5 or 4 feet. If you're doing it past that, you're going to reach a point of diminishing returns where you may become a good shooter with both hands, but why not be a great shooter with your strong hand, and then learn how to create space. And if you're able to do that, you will never find a situation where you need to shoot an offhanded, mid-range shot or something like that. That never happens. If you are creating enough space to get a good shot, then you're going to be you should use your strong hand. I mean, if you're not getting open enough to use your strong hand, you need to work on developing better skills at creating space. And then for developing your weaker hand when it comes to dribbling, check out our videos on how to develop your weak hand.
Right.
We do a whole series on it and show you a whole bunch of drills. If you go to our channel page, we have a playlist for it. I think it's down near the bottom of the page.
Yeah, and that is not a mystery. The whole thing about improving your offhand is just spending time on it. The thing is that most people's offhand is weak because they don't feel very confident with it, and so they just avoid doing anything with it and just rely upon their strong hand for all the work they do. But here's what happens: is that coaches are pretty smart when it comes to recognizing people who don't have offhands, and so they'll force you to play with that for a whole game. And it's going to be difficult for people who haven't developed that. And you develop it merely by spending time doing it, doing exactly the same drills that you would do with the other hand.
But that's all in that video series, so we don't need to retread that.
We want to take and beat them down with that one.
Okay, the gaming guru here on the Google Plus Q&A says, "Hey coach, so I purchased some basketball shoes and have a little problem. So my old shoes, the Hyperdunks 14 are size 11, but my toe is reaching the toe box, so I decided to order a size 12. I'm definitely an 11.5. How do I need that 0.5 for quick movements?" The thing is, you should get shoes that feel good and are comfortable to you and fit you. Getting one that's half a size too big that's not a smart thing, because you don't want your foot shifting around inside of your shoe. You should get the ones that fit you correctly. So if 11.5 are the ones that fit you, then you should get the 11.5s. Yeah. When you get into trouble is when you get above size 13 and then there's no half sizes, and that's fun.
Yeah. Well, and not only that is, I don't think that a half size is going to make that much difference in your footwork and stability and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it might, because you're wearing
a half size is not very much.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if you're going to get shoes, get the ones that fit you.
Yep.
Because you're probably you should only be wearing them for about 3 or 4 months and then getting new ones at the most. And in that time, if you've grown another half size, then get the bigger size. You shouldn't get shoes that are half size too big. It's not going to help you.
No, it doesn't help you.
No. And people put so much emphasis on shoes and them being the thing that's going to take them to the next level, and shoes do almost nothing. They should feel good and be comfortable for you, because you don't want to have to think about them when you're playing.
Yeah.
If you have to think about them, that's when they're going to affect you, is because then they're going to bring you down. There's no shoe that is going to make you better at basketball
or make you jump higher or any of that kind of stuff.
No. Okay, this one is from Jesus Castro, who says, "Hi, Shot Science. I'm 15 years old. One of my strengths is shooting the ball, but my defense is not too great. Any tips on how to improve my defense and my defensive stance?" Yes, go check out our video, Defense 101. That's really where you need to start is on that, because we show you all the particulars on that. And just remember to beat them to the spot, deny them the ball. Don't even let them get the ball. That's the best defense you can play. And don't reach.
Well, that's all really true. One of the things that most players don't do very well is move their feet when they're playing defense.
Footwork.
They rely so much on their hands trying to tip the ball out. And oftentimes what happens is that good, quick offensive players are able to get an edge on you, and you're kind of stuck. That's when you get those cheap fouls on you for reaching in. But if you take and use your feet, you can usually maintain a position defensively where, and there's a couple of terms here that probably are kind of describe it. One of them is to steer the person where you want them to go. And you do that by foot and by your footwork, not by how you use your hands. And the other one is that another word is that you want to use very often is that you want to, when the ball goes to the wing, you want to pin them along the sideline on the wings. You don't want them to be able to come over the top and get into the key. What you want to do is direct them toward the baseline and pin them to the sideline.
Yeah. But that's not everything about defense.
No, that's not everything.
That's just part of it. No. Okay, this one is from Leon with a ton of N's, who says, I have small hands, so when I shoot the ball, I tend to slip/lose grip of the ball when I shoot. Any way to counter that? Okay, hand size is so overplayed when it comes to basketball. People think that you have to have big hands that can just palm a basketball, no problem. I can tell you that we see girls that are, 8, 9, 10 years old that have super tiny hands, and they're able to shoot a basketball no problem, dribble a basketball no problem, shoot layups with a basketball no problem. So the issue is not size. I would think that it's probably you're not getting a good grip on the ball yourself. So maybe your hand is not open. You're not getting a good contact. You want to make sure that when you are shooting the ball that you're actually spreading your thumb out and kind of getting a nice spread.
And bring your hand back around here. One of the things that's really critical is, like Casey's talking about, spreading that thumb so that you have the ball up off of your palm like this, so that you got about one space for one finger to go in there. Turn your hand back the other way. And then what you have is you have a grip between these two fingers. They're squeezing the ball. The other three fingers have no opposing finger on the other side, so we really can't do much. But the thumb and the little finger really help us to control the basketball. So spread the thumb out.
Yeah. And, it's so overplayed about palming and having this strong grip and stuff like that. I mean, I've been able to palm a basketball since I was like 11 or 12, maybe even younger. I don't even know. But there's no point that I can remember during a game where I needed to palm a basketball for anything ever. And, people think, oh, if I can palm it, I'll be able to dunk it. Or if I can palm it, I'll be able to shoot it. That is not the case. I mean, that's why there's people like, Muggsy Bogues never could palm a basketball. Spud Webb never palmed a basketball. Those guys, elite level basketball players. Spud Webb was dunking it. I mean, come on. You don't need to be able to do that. It probably comes down to you how you're gripping things when you're shooting is really the problem. Okay.
We answered that one already.
Lumez says, hey, any tips on how I can palm the ball better? Sometimes when I go for a dunk, it slips out of my hands. Thanks in advance. Yes. You don't need to be able to palm the ball. Go up with two hands. Okay, this one is from Green Purple Sports, who says, what should I do the day before games? I don't know. I mean, that really depends on what you're getting at. I mean, are you talking about should you practice? Should you be training? I mean, I don't know. I think that every day you should be working on your skill development or skill polishing at some point. So you should be working on your shooting. You should be working on your dribbling, maybe even some conditioning. You probably don't want to go overboard and just completely kick your butt because you need to be able to rest and recover before the game.
One of the things that kind of comes to my mind as I hear that is, and I had this discussion with our team last week, and that is one of the things that you need to do is go through mental rehearsal. That's something that's really important the day of and the day before the game. Mental rehearsal is where you're actually running things through your mind about what you anticipate may happen that you have to deal with, what the other person maybe is going to do. If you know a little bit about the other person and maybe they really are going to pressure you on defense, how am I going to deal with that? And this mental rehearsal really helps players. I know my son Chase, he relied on that before he played every game. He spent time where he was just going through and mentally rehearsing what he figured was going to happen in this particular game. And that really helps you a lot.
Yeah. And the other thing is don't do things that are obviously not going to recover in time for you to be able to play. So don't go lift weights, overtrain in terms of conditioning. I mean, you need to be smart about it and read your own body. I mean, sure. The guy that goes and he does gnarly squats the day before and then has a big game the next day. It's like, well, come on. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to do stuff like that. But I think that the mental rehearsal, working on always having consistent practice and polish on your skills is a big deal. And then getting the right rest and eating right and sleep and all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, those are the more important things than any kind of magic thing that you can do.
Truly.
Okay, this one is from Nate Thompson again, who is at NateT_AF. He says, I'm finding I can dribble well and do moves like crossovers and in and out well, but I cannot get past somebody or beat somebody. How do I explode into moves and get past the defender? Okay, there's a few things in this, I think.
Yeah.
Number one is if you're trying to explode and really get those changes in directions and speed, you need to work on your plant push footwork, your plant and push footwork. So when you plant that outside foot, it's almost like a pogo stick or an explosion out of that leg. You plant it and all that energy is then shot out of that leg and you go in the new direction. And then the other part of that is selling those moves. So if you're doing a crossover, it should look like you're taking the ball to your right over here. And the only way that that guy knows that you're not going that way anymore is after you do the crossover and you've already plant and push and gone the other direction. If you're giving it away by using the wrong kind of body language, or it's not an explosive change in direction or speed, then that's when it's not going to be easy for you to pull those things off.
Well, there's some other elements that I think are really important too, and one of them is when you're going to cross somebody over or use any kind of a change of direction dribble, what you need to do is make sure that the angle at which you attack the person is a north and south angle. We use the term north and south as that direction that goes from baseline to baseline or basket to basket. And what happens often is that we execute these counter moves, and instead of going toward the baseline or the basket on the opposite end where we want to get to, the ball is going east and west. It's going toward the sidelines. And the person can be really inept on defense and probably stay in front of you if you're just working sideline to sideline. What you want to do is force them to have, and by taking a 45-degree angle on that, you're going to then force them to have to open up the door and let you go by.
Yeah,
that's real important. Let me get this, just one more thing. The other thing is that when we attack somebody, we want to attack them aggressively so that they have to defend aggressively. What happens is that when we take and use very soft kind of attacks on
casual
people,
or something.
What's that?
Kind of a casual attack.
Casual attack. We're never going to beat anybody. We couldn't beat that person in the wheelchair because we're just too slow, too sluggish. But once you attack them aggressively, then what happens is they have to defend aggressively, and then they're set themselves up. If you use good footwork and whatnot and the proper angle, you'll be able to go by people. There's no question in my mind. One of the things that we talk about all the time in attacking people off the dribble too is that what we want to do is we want to get hip to hip with them when we go. One of the things that happens is that oftentimes young players don't want any contact when they attack the basket. And so they avoid the contact by looping around the defender, and that really aids them. If you take and come sharply off their hip so that if there's going to be hip to hip contact, you're going to have a much better situation. Either they're going to foul you with the contact or they're going to open the gate for you to get on by. And so those things I think are really helpful in handling that.
Yeah. And maybe that's something we'll cover a little bit later too. Okay, so let's jump back into questions. This one's from Graham Hall, who says, "Hey coach, any tips on how to get into scoring opportunities but still keep in my coach's system?"
That's an interesting question, and one that I discuss an awful lot.
It also depends a lot on the coach too.
It does. One of the things that coaches do, most of them, is they choreograph plays, and what that means is they tell you exactly what they want you to do. And I kind of teasingly call that running on rails, because you're going to take and pass the ball to the wing. You're going to go down the screen for a post. He's going to come up. The ball reverses. You go to the right. He goes to the left. And so all of that is kind of choreographed. And the thing that is important there is that choreography might result in a good-looking shot, but it's possible that it won't either. And one of the things that I talk to kids about is that be aware of where you can jump off the rails. Maybe you find that somebody is really weak. If you attack them to the left side, then that's what we're going to do. And let's say that they're playing you very soft. Maybe I can pull up and get that shot. I jump off the rails to take a shot. And the coaches, sometimes they will be, oh, no, good shot. Okay, yeah, well, and sometimes they will scold you for that, because they're looking to get a particular shot.
Yeah,
okay?
And the other thing too is that coaches typically have parameters too.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you, okay, we want to make sure we get at least 2 ball reversals. We want to make sure 4 guys touch the ball before we do anything. Yep. Make sure that there's spacing. I mean, there's going to be differences with every coach. The other thing is that, maybe you follow those parameters to a point, and then, you realize that this guy your defender is completely out of the loop. He's not paying attention to you, and you flash to the post, or you do a backdoor cut, or something like that, and you create an opportunity. But you probably don't want to do that right off the bat and completely mess up your coach's scheme. You know, you have to kind of have you have to discern like what is acceptable. Is it, should you wait until these parameters are met? Is it now the opportunity to do it? You probably don't want to be the guy that's defying your coach every single time down
You
the
don't want
floor.
to do that, but you do certainly want to learn where you can get off the rails and make an easy shot.
Yeah, learn how to play. That's kind of a big
that's
deal.
the truth of it.
Okay, Lumez again says, I do pretty well on trainings, but on game day, I sometimes something happens and I do really bad. Any tips? Yeah, I mean, if you have if you're playing in a game and things kind of go wrong, I mean that's going to happen. Mistakes happen. You just kind of have to look to the next time down the floor and not let those mistakes play on your mind, because if you do that, then you've already sabotaged the next time down the floor. And, you know, a lot of times people say that they do well in practice and not so well in games. Maybe you need to get more experience just playing in games, and you know that might mean pickup games or whatever, and just getting more experience out there instead of just you know, kind of the casual approach to practice and then stepping into games and you're like, what is going on? Having kind of the experience there. Okay. Linguini 33 says, hey guys, how do I play defense without getting a foul? Like when the opponent is driving in. Thanks and have a nice day.
Well, you know, the real key,
footwork again.
The real key there is footwork. You know, as defensive players, I think the biggest element that people forget about is that you want to maintain a position in front of that offensive player. We often talk in terms of keeping them between your knees, and that way we can control them and even we can steer them. When we start reaching and we have really sloppy or poor footwork, they're going to go by us. And so you can't really emphasize enough your footwork in how you play defense. That's really, really important. And often people are saying, how can I learn how to steal a ball? Well, one of the things that you can do is you can reach in when people are going and draw the fouls. And pretty soon you have to go sit down because you've fouled yourself into a situation where you may have to leave the game. So the thing that's really important is learn to use your feet so that you can control, that's the one, and steer the offensive player.
Beat them to the spot.
Yeah, and that all comes from learning how to keep them in front of you. And like we say, keep them between your knees. They can't run over you. Okay, if they do, then there's going to be a violation there. And so by just using good footwork, keep them in front of you so you can control and steer where they go.
Okay, John Otu in the Q&A has another question from, I guess last week we talked to him. He said, I'm back from last week and I was wondering, I have long arms, and now since I'm changing my shot to my eye, should I adjust my shot in a way so I don't get blocked, or is it more a matter of me raising my release point?
You know,
well, here's one thing first.
Go ahead.
You shouldn't be worrying about getting your shot blocked in terms of your mechanics. If you're trying to shoot and you've always got somebody trying to block you, that's an issue. You need to work more on creating space and getting these open looks. That said, I think it's better to have somewhat of a higher release point or release than having a short one.
Well, the thing is too, is that you should probably raise your set point.
Yeah.
That point where you're going to deliver the ball from. I think that maybe is what you're thinking about. And but that doesn't ensure that you're going to have an uncontested shot. What you need to learn is make a choice where you're going to shoot the ball from, John, and either you take and shoot it from looking over the top of the ball, or you shoot it looking underneath the basketball. Either one of those is an acceptable set point. But then you also have to remember is that you've got to create space in order to get that shot off.
And remember that the ball has to travel that distance while you're going up into your shot. So it's also good to have it a little bit higher just so you can eliminate some of that extra motion too. But having a higher release point, that can help you a lot, especially if you're a dude with long arms. I mean, watch somebody like Kevin Durant, or actually watch some old video of Bernard King, and that'll blow your mind. He shoots it from essentially the very end of his reach. It's crazy. Okay, let's see. Let's jump back over here into the chat. This one is from Pokey JJ Boy Plays, who says, hey guys, what is a good game tactic for young players, 10 to 12 years? What is a good play for easy score?
You know, usually you're playing in a team atmosphere, and it's not all about you. It's about how the team operates as a unit. And you know, there's this is something that's kind of interesting, is that
That's kind of what they're asking, though. Like, what is a good play?
Yeah, well, a good play is not just about you, though. A good play might be that maybe you make a great pass. A good play might mean that you attack your guy and you get to the basket. Those are things that young players need to worry about. And whether you're 10 or whether you're 20 years of age.
Well, here's the thing. I was going to say, we're not going to explain plays on right now because it would take too long to really do that. And without visuals, it's tough to really show you.
Well, and your coaches have that program for you usually anyway.
But what I will say is that for young players especially, learn to play basketball. That way, you never really have to have a play. You can actually perform without having anything, set. Yeah. So learn how to do things like flashing in the post, setting screens, doing backdoor cuts, L cuts, V cuts. Learn to move without the ball, get ball reversals, drive, dish, draw, all those things. Get all that stuff going, and then you don't need plays. That's really what young people need to do.
Learn to play.
When young people get so stuck in going through plays and stuff like that, that can turn into a problem later when they need to know how to do stuff without the plays. And if things break down, what to do at that point too. So it's good to kind of be able to just learn how to play. Okay. So Woohoo says, what should I do when I have the ball and nobody's open and somebody is guarding me?
Well, okay. Here's the essential elements of that whole situation. If you have your dribble, use it and keep it. One of the things that happens so often is that players or teams will have a scheme where they're going to pressure the guy with a basketball or the girl, and then everybody else, they're going to deny those passes to them. So what you need to do is keep your dribble alive. One of the things that happens is if you pick your dribble up and you cannot get the ball to your teammates, there's going to be a 5-second violation in there, which means that you're going to have to turn it over to the other team. If you maintain your dribble, you can back away from them and widen that space. I believe the space is 4 or 5 feet there on being closely guarded. And then you can attack them again.
Well, here's the thing. If you have the ball and it's you against that guy, you should be able to create something, especially if you're not getting the defense on to influence you from another player. So use your dribble attacks.
Yep.
Use be aggressive, make them defend. Typically, you're going to be able to get by that guy somehow, probably using one of those dribble attacks. You do that, you're going to draw the other defenders, because if they don't, then you're just going to get a layup.
Right.
So that you really just have to kind of take the situation in your own hands. If you're standing back and you're freaking out because you don't know what to do, then you've just let that guy defend the crap out of you. So you need to take advantage of the situation. And I'm not sure if you're talking about if you have picked up the ball and you have nowhere to go and you can't dribble or something like that. If that's the case, it's up to your teammates to get open and help you out.
Right. Their job is to create an open and come to you so that you can give them the basketball.
Yeah.
Now, if you're caught on the sideline like that, let's say that they trap you on the sideline and you know that the time is running out, just take and pass the ball off their leg out of bounds.
Okay.
And then you get the ball and start over.
I'm calling it. It is lightning round right now. So get it together here. These are going to be quick answers to questions.
All right.
This one is from Control Venom, who says, how do I get to get rebounds better when I'm playing, since I play with tall people? Learn how to block out, learn how to anticipate the flight of the ball and where it's going to go. And be aggressive. That's really the bottom line.
Yep.
Check out our video on the monster rebound drill.
Right.
Hayden Johnson says, I guess there was another part to his question. I don't know where it went. Let's see. Challenging Tube says, does my shooting action affect my range?
Well,
yes,
it does. It does.
Watch the first part of our video.
Yeah.
Efficiency is a huge part of it. Right. Antonio Crisculo, who's here a lot, who says, hey, coach, I play forward position in rugby, and we do a lot of weight training, Will this affect my speed and agility at basketball games? And do you have any tips on strengthening my knees? I injured it very badly. Okay, we can't tell you anything about in terms of your injuries and stuff like that, because we're not doctors. If you're worried about strengthening your knees and things, go check out Alan Stein's Stronger Team channel, because he has a lot of stuff about injury prevention and stuff like that.
Right.
If you're playing two sports, and you're doing training and weight training and stuff like that, you need to be the one that really figures that out. Is this going to affect you? Are you having enough rest and recovery time? If not, then you need to kind of prioritize. We can't tell you what is the best.
Right.
Lawin Ketter says, hi, I shoot with 2 hands, but it goes in. Will I ever get far in basketball with a 2-handed shot, or should I change it? Thanks.
Well, be our feeling that you probably should think about changing it, but wait until after the basketball season is completed, then make your change.
Yeah. Jamari Simpson says, how do you handle someone that won't pass the ball? You make it undeniable that you should get the ball.
Well, you create situations where you show your hand, you call for the ball, and
you're moving without the ball,
yeah,
doing L cuts, V cuts, backdoor cuts, flashing in the post.
Yeah, there's lots
setting
of ways.
Screens.
The other thing is you need to counsel them. And by counsel them, I mean during dead ball, timeout, situation like that. Listen, when I'm open, give me the basketball, and be very direct about that.
Yeah, but be careful too, because you don't want to be, I don't know.
Be direct.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Challenge Tube says, how can I work on my finishing ability in the post through post moves? Practice?
Well, practice is a whole bunch of it. You know, one of the problems that players have difficulty with around the basket, whether they're post players or perimeter players or whatever, is their focus at the finish. They oftentimes will come in for the shot and they're putting it up and they're not really thinking about where they're
worried about contact or something like that.
Yeah, and so they kind of hedge and fall away from the contact and put up really crazy shots. But in what you want to need to do,
or they're just bracing for the contact.
Well, yeah, but
and then you forget about the fact that you're shooting the ball.
Well, that and the fact that when you are shooting a ball, that there is a target that you want to hit, and maybe that target is the upper corner of that target box, and you have to be able to do that. And the thing that's real important with that is that your fingers and hands go right to that target, and then you're going to probably be way more efficient and finish a lot better if you do that.
Right. Okay, this is from Max Felix, who says, do you adjust your shot as you get closer to the basket? If so, how? Not really.
No.
Your mechanics should all stay the same. Obviously, you have to attenuate your power, and that's about it. Yeah. Your mechanics should all stay the same. If you're trying to shoot different kinds of shots in different spots, good luck being accurate, because it's going to come down to repeatability again. So, I mean, that's the basics. Your shot should be the same, whether you shoot it from 2 feet or from 20 feet. The difference is power.
Yep.
Okay, this one is from Taylor Porter, who says, how do I fix my jump shot from missing slightly from left or right from 3? Like it hits the side of the backboard sometimes and isn't really consistent. Well, form shooting drill, there.
Form shooting drill, and then our, what do we call that series there?
How to fix your shot.
How to fix your shot, yeah. And that would probably be a good place to go and check that out too.
If you're missing right or left, typically that means that you're either following through right or left, or the ball is coming off the wrong fingers.
Or the left hand, the assist hand.
Or the left hand is influencing.
Thumb is beginning to create the shot. And you can tell usually when this thumb is getting involved with shot because it creates a sideways rotation on the ball.
People with solid shooting mechanics never really miss left or right. It's always kind of a problem, not a problem, but it's when they miss, it's usually because it's a little too long or a little too short. Yeah. If you're missing right and left, the problem is usually because of your release. Right. Okay, let's see. Let's go over to here, the Q&A. This one is from Pax Gucci, who says, I had a coach who didn't believe in a big man shooting out of the paint. Before playing for him, I had a pretty good mid-range jumper. Now I can't make any. What can I do to get back my mid-range game?
Just practice on it. Yeah, just practice it. And not every coach is going to put those kind of limitations on you. It's kind of interesting to me as I deal with players of all ages and how coaches kind of have different constraints on not only shots that you can shoot or positions on the floor where you can shoot. Actually, it should all kind of come down to what can you get done. If you have a particular skill at a particular spot, I'm going to encourage you to shoot that shot. That's real important because we know that that's one that you feel comfortable with, that you can make.
Yeah, and if you had some ability earlier on, then it's probably still in there. You just have to put a little bit of work in to bring it back out.
Right.
Okay, this one's from Bruce Smith, who says, "How do you fix a flat shot? Any drills to add arc?" Yeah, well, the drills are the ones that you should be doing anyway, is just for shooting, which is the form shooting drill, game speed, game intensity drills, spin drills, or spin dribble drills.
Well, you know, one of the ones that's probably specific to what he's asking here is about the arc.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that you should be doing all of these drills anyways.
Yep.
But when it comes to fixing a flat shot, typically there's a few reasons why. Number one reason why is because you're dropping your arm down so that it's not finishing above your shooting eye. Look at my elbow is above my shooting eye. So you should be finishing high. If you're finishing lower, that's going to create a flatter shot. Or if you bring the ball back and have a release like that too.
Right. And when you do that, your accuracy is just going to fall off the table. You've got to elevate the ball. But you go check out those videos.
You're shooting at a smaller target. Yeah, go check out our videos.
Yeah.
Okay, Marco Cipriano says, hey, coach, can you tell me how to improve my shot? Yeah, check out our shooting videos.
Yeah.
We have shooting playlists. We have a ton of stuff on there.
Right.
And use the form shooting drill, game speed, game intensity drills, and you'll be on your way.
Right.
And it just takes consistency and that's and you know, kind of conscious dialing in of what you're doing. What?
Actually, I know we're getting close to the end, and I want to kind of
this one right here.
Yeah.
Stephen Wright says, "What do I do when a taller person is guarding me? Not worry about it."
Yeah, don't worry about it. You know, sometimes we're intimidated because the guy is 4 inches taller than us, but you know, taller players probably are not as quick as you are. And so you want to take advantage of attacking them as much as possible and put them in situations where they are at a disadvantage, maybe because your quickness and movement. You know, one of the things that happens to so many players is they don't know how to move without the basketball. And so we become very stationary. And the more stationary you are, it's easier to guard you. You got a big guy on you, then that makes it more difficult. So make a move. Make a move.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I was just going to say, like, you know, stop worrying about the things that are your perceived disadvantages.
Yeah.
Worry more about the things that are your advantages.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here's one from Owen Long. He says, "How can I get the ball up higher when I shoot? No one helps me because I'm left-handed." Well, that's sad.
Yeah, being left-handed shouldn't make any difference.
Being left-handed is the same as being right-handed.
Yeah.
It's just you're using the other hand.
Exactly.
There's no secrets to it.
And it's, you know, being higher, it's really kind of hard to know how old you are and that kind of thing. But we like to have players that are, you know, 13, 14, 15, take a higher set point where you're looking underneath your thumb here as you are shooting the basketball. And that's just a matter of kind of go to our videos and check out all of that information. You probably find the answer to your question right there.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do a couple super quick ones. This is a super lightning round. Okay. So just know that, and you can jump in. Just keep it short.
Oh,
okay. This
boy.
one is from Andrew Collins, who says, "Hey guys, I was just wondering, what are the best cuts to get open as a wing player? V cut, L cut, backdoor cut."
Absolutely.
Flashing in the post.
Yep.
Set a screen.
Yep. All of those are really good.
And we have videos on, I think, most of those.
All of them, yeah.
Let's see. And the Super 2K Bros asked a similar question. That would be those.
Yeah.
This one is from Ramyar Dan, who says, "How do you use the backboard to make a perfect basket from 3-point?" Don't use the backboard from that far away.
No.
Using the backboard is great from about 5 to 8 feet, kind of mid-range shots from
when
the
you're
sides.
on the angles, when you're at the sides. But other than that, just go right to the basket.
From deep and straight on, it's not going to be such a great situation.
Nope.
This one is from Tobias In, who says, How do I improve my fadeaway shot? I often hit the front piece of the rim. I feel that I'm not strong enough. The best thing you can do is to eliminate the fadeaway shot completely.
Yeah.
It is a low percentage shot. People love it. They think it's a great thing, but all it really is, it really is just a bailout shot. You really need to work more on creating space and getting open looks, because if you're able to get that open look, it's going to be higher percentage than that low percentage fadeaway.
Right.
And last question today is going to be, let's see, I got to find a new one here. Let's see. Pax Gucci asks, what can I do to get my conditioning to peak level? I think that the best thing you can do is do kind of basketball specific training and conditioning. So doing things that actually translate well to basketball. So that doesn't mean going out and running 5 miles straight or jogging 5 miles or whatever. That means doing stuff like interval training. So you're going to be running sprints, and those are broken up by kind of periods of lower intensity. Maybe it's walking or jogging. So let's say you're on the track, you sprint the straights, walk the curves, sprint the straights, walk the curves. That's a good way to do intervals. Or if you're inside and you're doing stuff on the basketball court, run some ladders or suicides. Work on jump rope, work on footwork stuff like dot drills and stuff.
Yeah, suicide drills.
Body weight resistance is good too. So things like push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, plyometrics. I mean, there's a ton of stuff to do. But make sure that it translates well to basketball. Weight training, like heavy weight training, I do that stuff. But the thing is that I don't think it's the best for doing basketball specific training.
Right.
And the same thing is true with endurance training. That doesn't translate well to basketball. Okay. So that's going to do it for us today, you guys. That's Shot Science Overtime number 99.
99. Yeah.
Next week is 100. Hopefully we're going to have something fun for you guys planned. Stick around next week, 1 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday. Send us your questions. Go tell people to watch. And we will see you guys then. If we didn't get to your questions too, it's not because we didn't like you. It's because we just ran out of time. Send us your questions during the week. Follow us on Facebook, Google+, on Twitter, and subscribe to us on YouTube. We are Shot Science on all those places, and we will see you next time, right?
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Have a very happy Christmas.
Yep. See you later, or whatever holiday that you practice. See you later.
True.